What's up, witches? Good evening, good evening. Come on in the building. What's up? How is everyone's evening? How's everyone's Friday night? How has the week been going for everyone? We're going to get started. All right. Welcome, witches, to another weekly refuel session. Time for us to re-up, recharge, reevaluate, take a look at this past week in our businesses, how they went, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, learn something new, get to know each other, and get ourselves ready to start next week with a fresh perspective, maybe some new connections, maybe some new knowledge under our belt so that we can do next week even better because we are better witches, right? Getting better every week at being witchpreneurs, solo spiritual practitioners that are growing our businesses, many of us with the goal of replacing our 9 to 5s and being able, or at least being able to have the option to do our spiritual work full time, whether we are service providers or product makers, brick and mortar location owners. I think many of us in this space, if we have not already made the transition to full time work, are looking to do so. And if we have already made the transition to serving our communities with our spiritual services and products full time, then you might be looking to connect with like minded individuals, find more clients and customers so you can grow to the next level and reach your next milestone. I dropped a poll in the bunker this week not in the bunker, actually, in my broadcast channel on Instagram, which is a broadcast channel for like bunker reminders because, life be life in. And I know that sometimes folks might forget to come into the bunker and check on updates there. In my broadcast channel on Instagram, I sometimes update folks, remind people about the different events and things that are going on in here, resources I'm sharing, etc. I dropped a poll asking folks how many people had already made the transition to being full-time spiritual practitioners. And of course, a small portion of the total amount of people that have plugged into that broadcast channel responded. But out of that group of people, I was definitely surprised to see that there were more folks that have already made the leap to full-time spiritual entrepreneurship. There were maybe 4 or 5 folks that said that they'd already made that jump, whereas only 2 folks that responded to the poll said that they wanted to, but had not yet gotten to the level where they could do that. So that was really interesting for me to see and exciting for me to see, because those of you who have transitioned into supporting yourself fully with your spiritual gifts have a lot to offer to this community. For those of us who have done that, we've all done it in different ways and we've had different trajectories. Some of us, I imagine, jumped right into it and immediately had success. Some of us may have struggled, may currently be struggling, may be reconsidering whether this is the right path or thinking about pivoting in a substantial way in your spiritual business. So we're all in different places and bring a lot of diversity to the table in terms of the insights that we can share, especially when it comes to sharing those insights with those who would like to take the leap. I definitely know that if I had had other spiritual practitioners around me when I first opened up HQ, I probably would have done things differently. I would have done it smarter. I would have had folks to talk to who could have given me some guidance that could have been huge in terms of smoothing over some of the challenges and difficulty that I had along the way. So I'm really grateful that there are folks in this community that are coming from all of these different backgrounds. And I'm really grateful that we can share information and knowledge and wisdom. And I had that really playing out in live time for me today. I met with 2 clients, or a student and a client. Some of you know that I have a semester-long program called the BetterWitch Magick Intensive for witches that are looking to improve in the areas of the craft. And I met with one of those students for their weekly one-on-ones. I also met with a client here who's a member of the bunker and is enrolled in the 6 weeks to launch program. And in both instances, I delivered value, gave them guidance, answered their questions, but also walked away with a ton of information from them. Both of them were able to share their experiences, their wisdom, their knowledge, their expertise. And I walked away learning something really helpful in both instances. So, the benefit of being in community with other people who have similar goals and similar interests really can't be understated. My prayer for each of you is that you take advantage of this space. There are certainly, in every membership group, there's always going to be more people that enroll than actually actively engage for whatever reason. We sign up for subscriptions and we forget about it. We have high hopes for ourselves that we don't actually realize. So tons of reasons for that. But I want to remind each of you of how much you stand to gain from actively engaging in this space and connecting with the other witchpreneurs that are here. I tagged Rebecca May, who is the client that I met with, because she is an SEO and marketing expert. Okay, not in the field of spiritual things or witchy things specifically. This is her full-time 9-to-5 profession that she's hoping to move away from and take those skills into her spiritual business. But it was super incredible for her to share some insights with me because, I've had a website for years. I've had social media pages for years, been making products and services and courses for years, and thought that I had like a handle on like what SEO was and all that good stuff. And immediately she pointed out something huge for me in terms of how we show up on Google. And I really want to stress that stuff like that is super important for you guys, for all of us, that as folks that are starting, launching, or growing spiritual businesses, that we get serious about the business part of it. I know that every single one of you is serious about the spirituality part of it. That's why you're so committed to what you do that you want to share it with others. But it's important to take the business side of your spiritual business successful if you want to have any hope whatsoever of it actually being your sole or primary source of income. And I definitely think that spiritual practitioners forget that and we slack on that part. And then we wonder why we've never been able to make that transition, or we wonder why we're not able to scale our businesses to a point where we can step away from them for a month or two, etc. So I'm going to keep reminding everyone of how important it is to actively engage in this community and any other that you are a part of, and to take the business part of your spiritual business very seriously. I will introduce myself. Name, location, business, and this week's wins. If you come into the room, please share them. I am Allie Kravitz, aka the Bronx Witch. I'm located in the Bronx, New York. I am the owner of Bronx Witch Headquarters, which is a co-working space for spiritual practitioners, the only one of its kind in New York City. And I am the CEO and founder of BetterWitch Coaching, which is a coaching program for baby witches that want to become better witches, offering education, classes and one-on-one coaching, events, and retreats that will help you with everything from your magical and spiritual journey to your spiritual entrepreneurship. My wins for the week, there were several that I got to share with folks. And I think I will focus on being highlighted this week by Talk TV, which was super exciting. A local publication that highlights businesses and arts and culture and things happening in the Bronx, reached out to feature myself and HQ in their most recent article and on their social media page. So that was really cool. As a physical location, getting press, any type of coverage, no matter how big or small the publication, whether it's a college student writing a paper, or USA Today, or Bronx 12 News, as we've been featured in, all of it helps to put our name out there and make sure that spiritual practitioners and witches all over New York City know about the services we provide, and that we provide a workspace for them to grow their businesses and their practices. So shout out to Damian Ali of Talk TV, and a huge thank you to them for featuring Bronx Witch Headquarters. Today, I wanted to give you all a mini tutorial on what I consider to be really one of the single most important things that you can do for yourself in terms of committing to developing good habits and good practices with your business, especially for those of you that are still working and are trying to figure out how in the world you are going to find the time to actually work on your business so that it can get to the point where it is paying you well. But this is, I think, critical for anybody, because when I started time blocking, I had already made that transition. This is something that I learned to do this year, that I've been doing for the last, 9 months, a year or so. And it has revolutionized how I'm able to handle things and made a huge impact in my level of overwhelm. Because I got to tell you, 2023 almost took me out emotionally, I gotta say, and energetically. We close every year for 1 week headquarters. I close headquarters every year for 1 week, twice a year. So in June, I close us down for a week, and in December, I close us down for a week so we can reset everyone, all the shop witches, everyone can just take a big reset. I might have a professional cleaner come in and clean up HQ. I might do some organizing. It's a time for a reset. So last year, I did that as scheduled, but instead of it being 1 week, I ended up being closed for 2 weeks. I just could not find the energy to go back there. I could not find it anywhere deep in my bones. I could not dig up the motivation, the desire, the energy to go back to the shop. At the time, we were selling retail. I just couldn't do it. So what was supposed to be a 1 week break was a 2 week break. And I spent a big chunk of that time on my couch in my pajamas with my cat. And I really needed that. I had to do a deep reset. I had to let myself literally just not move for 3 days in order to find the energy just to get up and, cook a meal, clean my apartment, call my family. And while rest is important and it's great, and I'm glad that I had it, I really should have never been in a position where it was that serious. I never should have been in a position where I just physically could not move my body, where I was just genuinely at a breaking point. And I'm really grateful that, all in divine timing, I was sent the right person. And it's so crazy because my ancestors told me this person was coming in a reading. And of course, I didn't know the person yet, so I didn't know what was coming. It just seemed like the message I was receiving was there was this dominating kind of feminine force that was coming into my life, showing up in the cards as the Queen of Diamonds. And then I met my business coach, Natasha. She made me cry. My first session after I held it together in the session, because I was like, we're a big boss witch. We're not going to cry right now. But as soon as I got off the call with her, I broke down into tears, because she really told me what I was feeling but needed to hear, which was that if I continued on in the way that I was going, that I was going to crash out spiritually, emotionally, energetically, but also financially. That I was just not handling things in a way that was sustainable, and it was not going to last for much longer. And I had that meeting with her shortly before the holiday break, and her words just echoed in my head as I, went into the break, and I realized that I really had to do serious recovery financial recovery, emotional recovery, all of it. One of the first things that she showed me when I came back and we started having weekly sessions beginning in January or so was time blocking. It was hugely helpful, but it also lacked some things. The particular approach that she gave me lacked some things for me. So I tweaked it and I modified it to make it work for me. And in that process of tweaking it and modifying it and then sharing it with other people, the other shop witches, who also have their own businesses, people coming into our co-working space, as I began to share it, I kind of came up with a 3-step approach to how to do it. Because anytime I would mention it, I would often get the response of, oh, I'm not a calendar person. I'm not that organized. Oh, you're so organized. I'm not that organized. Which, by the way, hearkening back to what I said at the beginning, we're taking our businesses seriously. So that means no more of this, I'm not this type of person, or I don't like you. You need to become that. You need to do that. It's completely not the case that you're going to build a business with no calendar, without having some organization to yourself. And it doesn't matter if these are like natural traits. It doesn't matter if you're the, scheduling type. You need to become it, period. The things that you don't know how to do about running a business, you need to go learn, period. The habits that will support you having a business that you don't have and haven't cultivated, you need to go cultivate, period. You have to take yourself and your business seriously. If your response to the idea of time blocking is like, oh, I'm just not that type of person, tough. Get over it. Go become that type of person. Or more accurately, just do it. You don't have to actually become that type of person. You don't have to become a naturally organized individual, but you need to go organize yourself. So the response I have often gotten from folks is, oh, I'm just not that organized. And that's just not an excuse. Get organized. Suck it up and do it. If you're serious about it, there's going to be tons that you do that you don't want to do, because most likely you didn't necessarily start becoming a spiritual practitioner to become an entrepreneur. I didn't start making teas and candles and doing tarot readings on YouTube because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. That was not on the radar. The first time someone called me that, it like rubbed me the wrong way. I was like, oh, don't call me that. So it doesn't matter if it's natural to you. If you have a goal and your goal is to build a business that you can thrive off of, then you simply need to do certain things to make that happen. That's my first message. You just need to get over it and do it. But I came up with sort of a 3-step process to make doing it easier or more logical for somebody that doesn't necessarily keep a calendar yet, or isn't particularly organized, or for whom the concept of having structured blocks of time during your week that you dedicate to your business is not typical. I know that it works because I've introduced it now to several of my clients, and it is unbelievable seeing how their worlds have changed in response. I was just talking to one of my clients this week, Emily. Shout out to Emily Muniz Tarot. She almost cried because of how much weight was lifted off of her shoulders and how much clarity she has now about what to do any day. Like it's so wonderful to wake up and not have to figure out how to find time for your business, to have it already given to you and have basically somebody, but that somebody is yourself, saying, okay, this is when it's happening. You know that going into the day, you know that going into the week, and you plan things accordingly. And when things go out of plan, when sudden things come up, you can move things around so that you still get those things done. So this is a system that I know works. So if you feel like intimidated by the idea of creating a schedule for yourself, if you're just not accustomed to it, just follow these steps and you will be able to start time blocking for yourself. Okay? So step 1, Step one is what I call the brain dump. And I'm reaching over here because I'm going to grab my brain dump so that you can see what this looks like. But to do this brain dump, you're going to need 2 pieces of paper for this. And we're going to start with the first piece of paper. And on the first piece of paper, I want you to list out, and it does not have to be neat. In fact, the point of it is not to be, everything that is weighing on you right now to do with your business. All of those nagging things that you know you should be doing or should be doing more of, or that you've been putting off, whatever, it doesn't matter. Every single thing that is in your medulla oblongata, we want to get out onto paper. And I want you to write out the things you need to do, as well as any subtasks within those things, right? So sometimes the things that we need to do, part of the reason why we're not doing them is because there are these little things that go into it. And so it feels very overwhelming. So, for example, if building your website is one of those things, then you might have some subtasks there. You might look for somebody to design it for you, or you might need to choose your platform. You might need to buy a domain. You might need to take some photos for it, et cetera, et cetera. So you're going to put all of those things onto paper, and you're going to also list any subtasks in any of the big things that you need to do. Okay. And there is no rush to this. I really want you to sit with this and to write until you feel like your brain is empty, until you get to the point where you literally cannot think of anything else that you could do for your business. So this might take, 20, maybe even 30 minutes to get it all out of your head and onto paper. And if you're not a paper writer, then type it, voice note it, whatever. Okay. But get it out of your brain and down somewhere in writing. All the things you need to do for your business and the subtasks for anything that's like a bigger project that has subtasks. This is my master dump. It's got bunches of crossouts and writings in the corner and different things like that. Master dump. Just get it all out on paper. When I tell you that alone is going to make you feel incredible, not having it creeping up in your head and actually just having it down and not having it be just like a soup of potential tasks, hugely impactful on its own. Then you're going to move on to the next step. And the next step is to divide this list into 6 categories. Those 6 categories are high revenue, hard to do. High revenue, easy to do. Those are the first 2 categories. High revenue, hard to do, are tasks that are going to generate you a lot of money, or the most amount of the money that you can possibly make, or the most amount of reach if money is not your goal and you're really just trying to increase your reach, the amount of people that are tuning into you. You can translate revenue into reach. But this is going to get you the most return, but it's also going to require the most. It's going to take the most amount of time, or the most amount of effort, or the most amount of money. High revenue, easy to do, is obviously then the things that are going to bring you the most return, but that won't actually require a lot of time, energy, or money. The next 2 categories are low revenue, hard to do, and low revenue, easy to do. So these are going to be the things that will make you some money, but are not necessarily going to break the bank, or, wouldn't be your high ticket options. Maybe you're selling individual candles, things of this nature. And so there's revenue coming from that. Or you're doing individual tarot readings. There's revenue coming from that, but they're not priced terribly high and you're not selling a ton of them, but you want to continue to do so because your business is based around that. Then those are the low revenue things. And we want to divide that between hard to do, meaning they're difficult, they might take a lot of time, they might cost a lot of money, versus easy to do. Not a lot of investment, not a lot of labor. And then you can probably see where this is going. The next 2 categories are going to be no revenue, hard to do, and no revenue, easy to do. And you're going to take your piece of paper, divide them into those 6 categories, and take your master list and start organizing the things from your master list into these 6 categories. Qualify them. Now, I don't want you to stress out about this because this can cause some stress when trying to figure out what's a high revenue, what's a low revenue. If this thing has the potential to make me a lot of revenue or get me a lot of reach, but it hasn't yet, is that a high revenue or a low revenue? Don't stress it too much. You're going to make plenty of these as time goes on, and you're going to get better at figuring out what things are high reward for you or low reward for you. All right. So put them into these categories, give some thought to it, but don't overstress it. Just categorize them. You can always move things around. We're writing on paper. We're not chiseling into stone. Okay. And then you're going to come up with a much neater list like this. 6 categories, and you're going to put your tasks and their subtasks into these 6 categories. Now, once you have this, before you even get into the time blocking, there's a little bit of a win that comes from this. And that first win is in the category of no revenue, hard to do. Because the things in the no revenue, hard to do, if they are not requirements for your business, like you don't need them legally to exist, then you can get rid of them. And you should. If they are not going to bring anything in, they're not going to increase your reach, they're not going to increase your revenue, and they're going to take time, energy, money to do. You may have included them on the list because you feel like you have to do it, maybe because other people are doing it or what have you. But now that you've categorized it and you've acknowledged that this particular task or these tasks are not going to bring you any reach or revenue and are going to take a lot of time, energy, or money to do, you will see that they maybe don't belong on the list at all. And you'll be able to cross those off. Congratulations. You just knocked a few things off of your to-do list just by categorizing them and realizing the value that they bring versus the cost that they have to you. And if there are things in the no revenue, hard to do category that you absolutely, for whatever reason, even though it's not a requirement for your business, just want done, then outsource it. As the CEO of your business, it is not a valuable use of your time to expend energy, time, and money on something that is not going to increase your reach or your revenue. So if it's not a requirement for your business to exist, cross it off the list. Or if you just have to get it done because you just have a deep desire to see it done, then pay someone else to do it or find someone else to do it. Barter with somebody in the discussion feed that has the skills you need. Exchange a service, but outsource it. Find someone else to do it. Your time, energy is super valuable, and it should be focused at, if not 100%, 99% of the time on the things that are going to increase your reach and generate your revenue. Now, everything else needs to get time blocked. So these 5 remaining categories will be time blocked by you. And I'm a color person. I'm a visual person. When it comes to planners and things like that, I've always liked paper and all that good stuff. I should have brought my planner over here. I didn't. But I have a paper planner, even though obviously booking my sessions and a lot of my things are on my Google Calendar. I still like to keep a paper planner. That might be changing. I kind of felt like 2025 might be the last year that I keep a paper planner just because I am reevaluating anything and everything that utilizes my energy and doesn't pay off in terms of generating revenue or reach. And as much as I enjoy keeping a paper planner and I'm very comfortable and used to it, the time that I spend keeping my planner, organizing my planner, writing in my planner, etc., doesn't translate into increased revenue or reach. And so I did get my new planner for the year, but I'm wondering if I'm even going to bother using it this year or if I'm going to convert to going full tech with it because that would eliminate time that I spend organizing my paper planner, quite frankly. So we'll see. But for now, I like to put things down in my paper planner, but I also have my Google Calendar. And I basically just set both up to match each other, which takes time. So as I'm talking about it, I'm wondering if the paper planner is going to even ever make it out of the wrapper for 2025. But the way that I like to categorize is with colors. It just makes things more obvious from the jump. You're not looking for things, you're not reading for things, you can kind of just see it. So I like to assign a color to all 5 of these categories. And then I go into my calendar, whether it's my paper planner or my online digital calendar, and I create blocks of time that I block off. So meetings can't be scheduled during those times, appointments, etc. I block off times and I color code them for each of these 5 categories. Now, what time of my week I spend on these is dependent on the type of task that it is. And what I mean by that is if I know that I'm off on Sundays, let's say, and I've got time to myself typically on Sundays, I'm usually very well rested. Sunday morning is a great time for me. That's when I'm going to be bright and cheery. I got a good night's rest the night before typically. I am going to block out a few hours on Sunday morning to work on high revenue, hard to do tasks. These are things that are going to be difficult, they're challenging, but the payoff is going to be big. So they deserve to get the best version of me, when I'm going to have the most energy, be the most creative, be the most inspired, be the most willing to work, be the most available to put in a good length of time on them. That's what I'm going to do my high revenue, hard to do things. During times in the week where I know that perhaps I don't have as much energy or as much time, maybe on a Wednesday evening, right? After coming home from work and getting the kids ready for bed and all of that stuff, I usually have maybe just an hour of downtime, but I know that I tend to be pretty tired during that hour, but I do have it technically. That's when I would block out time for maybe my no or low revenue, easy to do tasks. They're easy to do. I'll be able to do them even if I'm a little bit tired. Perhaps they don't even require my full attention. So I might be able to multitask a little bit depending on what it is. If you make candles and you need to just like put labels on your already made candles, maybe you do that on Wednesday night during your hour while you watch, your favorite Netflix show, or you talk on the phone to your mom who you've been meaning to call for a while, right? So these are tasks that don't require a lot of energy, maybe even could be multitasked with while doing other things. You can be distracted, don't have to be super focused. That's when I would block out time for those types of tasks. But you want to go through your calendar, look at your schedule, ask yourself energetically, time-wise, maybe financially, maybe there's a particular time in the week where, your paycheck has just cleared, or you tend to have more money available, or what have you. If something's going to cost, then you might want to make those purchases then before you spend your money on other stuff. So you're going to look at your calendar for the week and you're going to choose energetically which times of the week are best to work on these types of tasks, these categories of tasks. We're not plugging in any individual tasks. We're just blocking out time to work on these types of things. This is so much better than trying to program or schedule the actual tasks. Because when you get to Wednesday night, you might not be particularly in the mood for the thing you wanted to do that you scheduled, or you might not be prepared for it, or maybe the candles didn't set up, so they're not ready to be labeled yet, what have you. So rather than scheduling things and then disappointing yourself when you get to that day and not doing that thing, just schedule the category. Regardless of what I do specifically on Wednesday night, I am going to spend it on a low or no revenue, easy task. After you've blocked out your calendar for the week, now you're ready to go. And when your week starts, when you get to those time blocks, you're going to go to your list. You're going to go to the category for that time block and you're going to pick one of your to-dos. That way, you are deciding in the moment which of these things you work on, and you can never disappoint yourself. You can never plan to work on something and then not get around to it because you're not planning to work on anything. You're just blocking times in your week where you will work on certain types of tasks. And all you have to do is just show up and actually pick something off the list and do it. But what you do, what you pick, doesn't matter so much. This is a much better way to go about your calendar, a much better way to make sure that every week you're addressing all 5 of these categories at some point for some amount of time. And it's a great way to make sure that you're always making progress every week. And you'll be getting a wider range of things done, from the big stuff to the little stuff. And you don't have to finish these tasks. So when you get to the end of that hour that you've set aside on Wednesday night, you're done. That's it. Now we move on to bedtime or shower time or whatever, but we just do that thing that we've chosen to work on in that hour. And maybe we finish something and we move on and we do a couple of things. Maybe we're able to knock 2 or 3 things out. If something comes up, what's fantastic about this is rather than being disappointed or canceling your tasks and not getting around to it, pushing it off for yet another week, you have none of that. Let's say the kids got sick Wednesday night and you were not able to spend an hour working on your low to no revenue easy tasks. You simply move that block of time to another part of the week. You don't skip over it. You don't ignore it, but you say, okay, I need to find another time in this week where I can spend an hour on my low or no revenue easy tasks. And you move it to another part of your week. By the end of the week, you will still have spent the same amount of time working on your business. Just what you did and on what days and at what time may have changed, but the aggregate at the end of the week is still the same amount of progress. 3 steps. Master brain dump it all out. 2, organize it into your 6 categories. 3, look at your week and choose blocks of time that are appropriate for working on those categories. When you get to those moments in time, take a look at your list, pick something out of that category, and go work on it. Try this for a week and report back. Tell me it doesn't change your life. It is going to blow the lid off of things. And this idea that you can't find time to grow your business while you're working, while you're caring for your family, while you're living life is going to go right out the window. You are going to make time for your business, and this is how you do that. All right, witches. So thanks for tuning in to this week's weekly refuel session. I'm the queen of showing up. So that is something that I'm very proud of in terms of me and who I am, that I don't need other people to show up in order for me to do so. But I am looking forward to seeing some of you actually in the refuel sessions. There's so much value to be gained from learning from other entrepreneurs, connecting, networking, and taking these moments every week to check in, to celebrate the steps that you have taken to get here and prepare yourself with intention to go into the next week even better than you did before. So since it's just me and there will be no questions, I'm going to go ahead and sign off, and I look forward to seeing all of you in the next one. Blessed be.